Hi, this is Adam Biek from A.J.B Counseling, and today's topic is going to be a little bit of a darker topic. We're going to talk about how secrecy leads to shame and depression. I'm not saying this is going to explain every possible scenario of depression, far from it, but it is worth considering because you know how when you have a secret and you're ashamed of disclosing it. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but over time, the longer you go on, the longer you wait to share it with someone, the more you avoid sharing it with someone, anyone really, the worse the pain and the shame around that secret gets. The reason for that is actually cognitive dissonance. I love cognitive dissonance because it explains so many different phenomena, psychological phenomena. So just a quick refresher what cognitive dissonance is. Cognitive dissonance is when our behavior doesn't match our views of ourselves or our own belief system, right? We end up having to come up with an excuse, a reason to justify why that discrepancy exists, why that dissonance exists. So the original study that was done on cognitive dissonance went something like this. They made people read something really, really boring, a boring piece of paper, and then they broke up that group. Well, they broke up that group into two groups. Sorry, they broke up the participants into two groups. One group was paid $20 to do the study, was paid $20 to read that boring piece of paper, and the other group wasn't paid anything, right? So what they noticed is that the group that was paid $20, they kept saying that, yeah, no, that piece of paper was boring. Meanwhile, the people that weren't paid anything, they were more likely to say that what they were reading was actually interesting. Interesting, right? That is interesting. It's interesting because unless you get paid to do something that normally you wouldn't do, like why would you read something boring, right? That was the dissonance. Why would I be reading something boring? I have to bridge that disconnect, right? So I believe that I don't read boring things, but I read a boring thing. Why would I do that? There's a disconnect. It must have been not so boring, right? So here we have a similar situation where, let's say something happens that you feel embarrassed about, that you feel some shame around, and you avoid telling anybody about it because of the shame, and years go on and time goes on. Well, eventually the amount of time that goes on will exceed the shame that you actually felt for it. Like you get so used to hiding the secret that maybe at first, like let's say something happens that you feel ashamed about, and you might say, you know what, this is shameful enough for me to hide it from people for 5 months, and then maybe by then I'll be over it and I'll share it. But if you go into 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, now your behavior is no longer matching up with your belief about that shameful thing, and now you have to bridge the gap. How do most people bridge the gap? Most people bridge it by saying to themselves, wow, that shameful thing must have been a lot worse than I realized. They won't say it outright like that, but unconsciously the beliefs adjust, right? So unconsciously we end up saying that the thing that happened is a whole lot more shameful as a whole. It deserves to have been hidden for so long. You know what I'm saying? And then that's how our sense of shame and embarrassment grows out of proportion. So the whole point of this video is to let you know that, listen, if you got something, we all got shameful things. Let it out sooner rather than later. Because in most scenarios, people accept us. People accept us with our faults. People accept us with our shameful accidents, and in a lot of cases people don't even think that what we think was so shameful is even shameful at all. You know, sometimes we just get in our own heads and we think that it's, I must hide it, I'm so embarrassed. But in reality, a lot of times that's not the case. That's not what people think. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.